welcome back to the Cavecast. Tonight, Eric and I are going to be doing something very different for the podcast, different than anything I think we've ever done before. We usually have an entertainment focus or a countdown focus or a paranormal focus or you know, I mean, whatever it is. It's very fun.
Funny,
you know, lighthearted.
yeah, lighthearted.
Tonight's going to be different. Not that this night can't turn into one of those things. I'm sure that there will be probably a lot of good memories that we're going to talk about, people that we've, well, depending on, you know, the situation of what we,
I don't know how this is going to go. So, I mean,
yeah,
you were very vague on this with, like what I was kind of, I don't like really have anything prepared per se.
That's honestly what I want. I want you, this is mainly me asking you questions. Like I want the most honest answers out of you. And I think that this is going to be the best way to do it. I think that this is going to be a very, heavy weightlifting tonight, mentally, spiritually, like that kind of a thing. So I think that it's going to be good. So, but before we get into this, you've probably clicked on this video or you clicked on this podcast on Spotify, Hearies. Probably have, that's right, upgrade to the viewies, and I promise we'll eventually get the entire genealogy of our audience down, which
you're all of it.
I've got everyone. We are all one.
You're here, YouTube viewies.
Oh man.
And payees. That's our.
We had really good ones.
That's our Patreons. I was just being funny.
The patronies. That's what it was. It was
patronies.
I think it was the tronies or the trons.
The tronies.
It was something to that effect.
We'll have to.
We're gonna have to figure it out.
Yeah.
Here's the thing: is it's just so. I mean, a little break from what we're about to talk about is that this is actually the fourth podcast we've recorded in a row that we've not uploaded yet. We've stacked
fucking off and not uploading them.
No, and I don't. Doom Eternal has just been sucking up my life right now, dude.
Should we tell them? Should we tell them what we're going to be trying to do?
About what?
What I bought twice.
Oh yes, please, yes. Go ahead.
So now it's not 100%. We haven't tried it yet. We might try it tonight for a few minutes to see if it'll work. I don't know. Either way, we're going to give it a shot. We are going to play a couple games. Now, Kyle we've talked before, he is deathly afraid of the sea and and space.
He's been trying to get me to play this damn game for like the past week. He's like, hey, you want to play Subnautica? I'm like, no, Subnautica. I don't want to play Subnautica. No, it's terrifying.
We finally got a way that we're pretty sure, keyword is pretty sure, that we can record it, make it look good like real YouTubers.
It'll essentially become like, it will replace the podcast episode for that week, and it'll just be us playing a video game.
Yeah, now we're not necessarily doing that like forever, but every once in a while we might do this because we're going to do Subnautica. And then I think we should do, maybe not necessarily the entire game or games, but Resident Evil 7, and then 8. Yeah,
it's.
I feel like that's a fair.
So many good things with those chapters so far.
Maybe even a little bit
from what we can tell about 8, but
so that will be a couple episodes. Again, that's not what this is necessarily turning into, like gameplay, but we think it's going to be fun and it's going to freak him out. Now, we're not going to lie. We started to play a little bit of Resident Evil 7 last night. We did. On your birthday. So everybody tell him happy belated birthday by this point.
Thank you.
And I jumped twice already.
This is what I told him, was that I feel that Resident Evil 7 has done a very good job of giving you that terrifying perspective of like being in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You're just in a house and you're being chased by these.
It's creepy as shit.
It's bad.
It's
good, but it's bad.
I was talking to my good buddy Howard, and he was talking about playing the game, and he said, dude, he's like, I had to stop playing several times. Yeah. And not because the game sucked, but because it was so scary, he said. And he said it's been a long time since he's had a game freak him out like that and scare him like that. So that is, I don't scare easy. Now, something that jumps because it's loud is different than being legitimately scared.
Jump scares are not how you make a scary movie.
No.
You can use jump scares to your advantage.
Now,
yeah.
So to be fair, one of them was a jump scare. Mm-hmm. One of them I was legitimately like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's from graphically,
it's still pretty good. It's 3-4 years old already.
Oh yeah, but it's
so even for being almost a 5-year-old game, it still looks really good.
I think that what's impressive to me about what Capcom is doing with 7 and now with 8 with what's coming out. I'm speaking mainly in the fact
Thor,
that
you know that everybody can see you doing that, right?
You missed a chance to watch Thor lick his balls. So if you want to see Thor lick his balls or sprawl out on the couch, you can come over to the YouTube.
Click like if you thought that was funny.
Hey, that just means he's comfy down here. That's all that means. So, but gaming stuff, yes, gaming stuff's going to definitely be coming.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 7 and 8 have done something spectacular. That is just the fact that we have now a consistent character that actually has an arc. It looks like there's going to be something that's going to be pushing forward in number 8, especially with how 7 ends.
I think 8's going to suck, but that's my personal opinion, and we'll get into that when that happens. Yep. And I don't mean suck because it's going to be a shit game. I just don't like the vampire aspect. So, anyways,
yeah.
All right, let's get, I guess, fucking serious here.
Okay, right. So before
cheers,
before we yes, cheers. Before we get into the main meat of what we're about to talk about, I have a disclaimer that I have taken some time to be sure that I am communicating this with absolutely no issue. If anyone's going to click on this video, we're about 9 minutes into recording, at least on the board. So that means that they've at least watched deep enough into the video to finally get to the point that we're going to get into the conversation we're going to have.
Correct.
So before we go there, here's something that I want to make crystal clear. What you're about to hear is shocking and very controversial, especially to those that know or have followed me for any amount of time. This is not intended to cause doubt or to discredit anyone's belief. This is me and my brother having a tough conversation. I also do not, and I'm going to say this again, do not judge anyone who still holds to the belief of the Christian faith. In fact, I encourage you to challenge your beliefs as Paul commands you to in 2 Corinthians 5:13. Test your faith. That way you know for a fact that what you believe is real, is the gist of what 2 Corinthians 5:13 says. Also understand, my faith journey is not done. I'm not an atheist. I have questions and concerns over things that I have never vocalized out of fear of judgment and also angering or worrying those in religious leadership whom I still call friends today that have invested time into me and my family. I'm aware of all of these hard things and I'm ready to face them. So let's do this. So I guess the question I want to start with you, and this is something that how the conversation is going to start is,
this is going to be hard for me because sarcasm is how I deflect everything.
Right.
I don't talk about things like this.
Yeah.
So
I get it.
This might come off awkward on some things and it's not meant, it might not. Your disclaimer was pretty awesome because I don't, if it sounds like I'm making fun of something or whatever, like just know that that's not, I'll tell you, I will straight up fucking no, I'm not being funny or whatever. Like I'm making fun of you or something. But so just know that I'm not trying to be, whether like I don't even know how to say it. Like I'm not trying to be.
You're not making light of this situation.
Yes, right. I guess that's it.
You and I have. I mean, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to have this episode. I mean, we've talked about doing this episode literally from the beginning of like starting the Chirite 425
It was
podcast.
like one of the first things you wanted to, not first things, but like one of the first things you mentioned.
I really wanted to try to break the ice a little bit and try to be like, look, this is going to set the tone for the rest of my channel. Like this is if you know me or understand me.
Why do you say that?
There's going to be people that have not seen the podcast so far that they knew and understood my lifestyle before, like before I went through what we're going to talk about tonight, not really went through, but more so like the spiritual and mental gymnastics that I was doing and some things that were going on in my life. I'm a very, very, very different person from then. And that's something that I kind of want to make clear. I think that it's something that will get rid of a lot of confusion, but I also don't want to have anyone on the Christian side be concerned about me in the same hand too, because I want to explain why I feel the way that I feel. Like, this is a discussion. This is something that I want this to open up, and I want to be able to, get coffee with the people that I used to meet with and have some tough conversations, number one, because I miss them, but secondly, because also like, I just want to be able to, kind of open that door. I'm a very, very practical person. I love criticism when it's honest. I want to know about that. So
I'm the same way. Like, I don't care if you just don't be as long as you're not an asshole about something. Constructive criticism is always encouraged.
Yeah.
There's very few people in this world that I have, regardless of faith and religion, just in general, maybe even at work. Fortunately, I've been fortunate enough the last, couple of jobs over the years I've had, they very good at giving constructive criticism. And I watch other people get upset about how they're being talked to.
Yeah.
And the same thing. It's like, nah, man, like you're taking that the wrong way.
Yeah, dude. Especially, I think that the reason why I have such a thick skin when it comes to that is because of the fact I grew up with a choir teacher that you are, completely familiar with.
Yeah.
That their mentality was never, I'm here to hurt your feelings. It was, I'm here to get this right.
Right.
And that's
exactly.
And she was able to communicate that. She was able to do that. And that's where I learned a lot about that. And then also what we're going to get into tonight too, especially with people that I've been with, in the past that I've been with, that sounds horrible, that I have worked with, or I have rubbed shoulders with, or that I've done ministry with, or I've been friends with, or whatever. All those things made me who I am today.
Of course.
So, all this being said, real quick, before we get into the actual first question, is this did not come in a place of ignorance. This did not come out of, I'm going to sound like Rhett right now, but it's like, this did not come out of a place of ignorance. This didn't come out of a place of selfishness. I don't want to feel this way. I don't want to question what I'm questioning and the reasons why I'm feeling the way that I'm feeling, but I do.
Why don't you want to question it?
It's all I've ever known, man. If I'm being 100% honest, being a Christian is all that I've ever known.
Right, but it's all you've ever known. There's more than just being a Christian.
What I mean by that is that it's the mentality of that I've been doing it for so long, I don't think I know how to do anything else, so I feel very restricted. Number two is 90% of the good things I've learned about myself and the things I have found, or the things like that, it's a situation that it's like I have roots into all the things that I've person that I've become that have formed that. Now, a lot of that could just be adolescence with faith rolled into that. So anything from your adolescence makes you who you are. But in the same hand, it's like,
it's funny that you bring that up. Okay, go ahead.
So I don't know, but it's just, that's pretty much like the place I've been coming from. Like where I'm kind of at now is that it's like, where I don't even want to say like, oh, I'm in the, I'm swinging it like a pendulum, or I'm in the middle of it. It's like, dude, like I got questions, dude. Like, it's like, there's very, very hard things that I feel like I don't have answers for.
Well,
and so
here's the thing is, you're never going to get all of your answers. You're probably never going to get a third of your answers, really.
Right.
At least not right now.
Yeah.
Not here.
It's frustrating, man.
So, all right.
So
let's go. Let's just balls deep. Let's get into it.
What do you, I have here, it says, explain original belief and be specific. So I guess, you as Eric, when you were either going to church or still held to your faith or anything to that effect, how would you describe what you believed? What was it that you believed? Like, what was the anchor points, or maybe like the big points of what you believed, or maybe just the general sense? Like, how would you describe it?
When So I would imagine both of ours is relatively similar because not
all
only
together. So
well, right, but do you remember going to the church right up the street?
Yeah.
So okay, so that's what I mean is that and like
I was little.
You say you had to be little.
It's fuzzy, but like when I walk into that place, it's like it's
something
kind of,
comes back.
I'm like, whoa, like I've been here, and like I've had like this is almost like I have the mentality of I've dreamt about this place,
right?
You know,
so
it's that surreal feeling.
That is where it starts for me, and this is, man, I almost don't know how to answer this because I almost feel like it's just going to kind of run into all the other questions, but
no, please go ahead.
So it starts with that. And as far as like what I guess it defines me as is that I hated it. Now, what I mean is not because it was church. It was not because it was church. I'm talking about the one here up the street.
Yeah.
Because that's, like I said, that's where it started. That's where my memories come from. And it wasn't like, oh, I got to get up or, oh, we got to do, it was pretty interesting with the exception of having to sit through the actual service. That's what pissed me off.
You didn't like adult church
the adult church when I was 10 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, whatever. Hated it. Now, fast forward to when we ended up starting going to the Grace Brethren Church.
Yeah, which is funny. We can say that because there's literally millions of Grace
them. But you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
And it was like a night and day difference. Now, I understand that I was older, but my initial like thought and who I was with it and how I treated my church. I didn't even know that it was like religion, but my church is I didn't like it. I didn't want to go because it was just that church is very dark and like kind of dreary almost.
It's very dull. Yeah. Yeah, even as an adult, I can see that. So I will say that the back portion of the church, which I had never been into before, there was some reasons as to recently, like I was there with some people, and it's completely different. There's like blue tile floor and stuff that's like in like the back there,
really?
like it's like a complete 180 when you're talking about that. That just made me think about it. I walked in there, I'm like, am I in the same building?
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah.
So that I was trying to kind of keep that vague as far as like, or re-say the question that way I can, or what were you saying?
Essentially just as far as like specifically what you believed, like when you prayed, when you, when you,
I thought you just meant like where it started for me.
No, it's what that's perfect. I mean, because I want to get everything. So just because you didn't necessarily answer the question doesn't mean that you didn't eventually cross a bridge I want to cross tonight.
Okay.
So specifically, you mean, like what did you believe in just one God? Did you like all that stuff?
So later on, then once I started, I guess understanding what I believed, then was I believed God and Jesus was my savior. I did try to pay attention in, the youth Sunday school or Wednesday night or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like I don't know how to, it's like a warm, like, I guess warm feeling. You kind of got this, like you wanted to go. Not only, I mean, granted, yes, I had very good friends there and, all that stuff, but it wasn't always just about that. It was refreshing to go to a church that had a service for all age groups. You were split just like you should have been. And they made it interesting. They made it focus on how you needed to hear it at that age group. And it was intriguing. Mm-hmm. So when I when I think back about like my religious beliefs, I mean, I truly was like, it was great. Mm-hmm. And again, not saying that I'm not still, it just like back then. And, for certain reasons that we'll get into later tonight, I slowly stopped going to church, just kind of inadvertently. So that is probably how I look at it is that I really was like, I was really involved. Like I wanted to be, I wanted to be, that was the thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't, all right, let's get ready for church. It was like, hell yeah, it's Wednesday.
Right. Yeah. Wednesday, it's youth group nights and
it's youth group night, or, what, things like that, or it's Judgment House season, or it was great. It was fun. It was entertainment. You learned, you wanted to pay attention.
Yeah.
Hell, even in the adult service was still, Pastor Bob was still really good.
Yeah. That's this is what I will say that I am very, very thankful for, is every single spiritual leader that I have had in my life, whether it has been long or it has been short, has been super solid. I've never really had the issue of like having like somebody that was a dick or like somebody that was very my way the highway kind of a thing. It was more so like, no, like we had discussions. It was like, it's like, no, like, why do you feel this way? See, it was I enjoyed that very much.
There was also, I went to another church off and on, where like Jonathan and Uncle Doug.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's a very different style of church too.
Because they weren't they were more
like a Baptist.
Okay, I didn't know if they were more Pentecostal or like
but it's so I hope we get into this tonight about like those different like styles of like quote Christianity.
I'm completely okay with either this. Just as a heads up, I'm okay with this episode being either severely long or having 2 to 3 parts. We may have a lot of shit we want to talk about. I mean, just we'll see how it goes. But I mean, just who knows?
Could.
But
so anyways, that is the. Again, not until I was a little bit in my like younger or like earlier teens did it really become like relevant of like what I was like believing in.
Right.
So it kind of worries me as far as like, my children or, whatever in my future, as far as like making them go.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Until
we've had that discussion.
Until they're older.
Right.
So that's because it didn't really matter to me.
Right.
Until I hit a certain age. Like I was just like, all right, well, this is just what we do on Sundays.
I would look at it in the way of like, it's that worry as a parent where it's like, okay, if this is the one true way, I don't want to make it unattractive to my children.
Exactly.
And that's such a hard thing to do. And can I just say right now, Mom and if you got like, I mean, if they ever watch this, like you guys 100% did it the right way. Like as far as like
your dad, your dad was phenomenal.
Meaning like they gave like it was like the idea that they were still our parents, they were still our authority of like, all right, guys, we're going to church, like we're going to do this, like we're going to make this a thing we're going to do. You have to decide if this is what you truly want to do. And it was a very, very refreshing thing from how like I know other people grew up that I'm close with, where it was like their household was so strict and was so like it was just like it could have been a lot worse.
We had a relatively strict home, not
I would say a fair strict home.
It was
kind of like the stereotypical family.
Yes, it really was. Mom knew that she couldn't be too much of a hypocrite, but I'm honestly, I mean, she let you get away with certain shit, but it's that is where you're absolutely right. Mom and Randy, your dad, they both did a very good job at helping try to guide somebody in the spiritual way. Your dad, especially.
Yeah.
He was a very, like he always wanted the best for that, and not just because he wanted to please his wife. He did it because he truly believed that.
Let me tell you something that I remember, and this is going to, I think this perfectly describes everything that you're going to see of how it unfolds tonight. Because we had a very, very, very healthy Christian home that we grew up in that was instilled in us. And I remember there was a particular instance that every once in a while we would visit other churches of like friends or family, or, you know, like whether we go like, you know, to Uncle Bill and Aunt Kathy's like church or like whatever, and we'd hang out with Scott and Steve and do our thing. But, you know, it was really interesting the first time that I went to a church. Now, I'm not going to get into the whole. I'm just going to let this guy fly. I was trying to work with it, and it was my core.
Well, no, I was going to say, are you kind of answering the same question? Because I was going to say it should be your turn to answer.
Well, right. I guess so, yeah. But I mean, like I said, I really wanted this to work as a conversation because everything is going to come out. But I will get into that question for sure. Okay. But essentially, what it is that we went to a friend's church. I was in the playroom with their kid, and it was a good friend of mine, you know, that I grew up with. And I remember being able to hear the pastor, and even in the kids' room,
they had the speakers.
Yeah, like it was really weird to me. Like that was kind of when I realized that I'm like, churches are high tech. I was like 7. Like this was everything to me. Like I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And I do remember the reason why Dad felt this way. But the subject matter is not important. What is important was that on the drive home, I remember being in the back seat, and if you're watching this, this is going to rocket you back. You're probably surprised I even remember this. Mom was in the passenger seat, and Dad was in the driver's seat. And, you know, I mean, you know how Dad gets with his, I talk with my right hand a lot. That's something I get from my dad. I remember that flying, like the whole time he was just like talking with her, like not in a mean way, but he was just very, very passionate. Yeah. He was just like, he's like, honey, I couldn't give tonight. I couldn't. And she's like, why did you feel that way? And he's like, I was sitting there, and he's like, I will support anything that I feel is doing the proper job or the proper thing. And he said, that plate came to me, and he's like, that's why I handed it to the next person and skipped you. He's like, I did not want you to think that I was not considering you, but that was a moment that he's like, I was not comfortable with what was being preached. I was not okay with the situation that we were in, and I knew that it was very, very different from what we were used to. And he's like, I wanted to just not be involved. And he's like, I prayed about it. And he's like, Lord, I want to serve you. I want to respect you. I want to forward your kingdom. But he's like, this is not, I'm not supporting this one.
Do you recall what happened?
I do, but I don't want to, because that's going to open up a whole different level of things.
I think I might know what you're talking about.
Okay. Yeah. We will talk afterwards on the specificness of that as far as like the people, because I don't have any ill will towards the people that took us there. It's just, I don't want that. I don't even want it brought up. Like it's that type of thing. So with that being said, one of the very positive things I got from my father was that I don't know if that was just a normal thing that's in the right gene pool of like that reverence, or like, I don't know, man, but I was in a place in my life that when I was very, very young, I looked at Mom at Judgment House and I said, I want Jesus in my heart. Mm-hmm. And she said, okay. And I walked up on stage and I did my thing. And I just started crying, just like sobbing on stage, because I felt like something was happening to me in that moment. Pretty much from there, man, I took it seriously. It was, I wanted to be sure that from that point on, even being that young, I understood what was at stake, or what I understood was at stake, which was eternity. I believed that, which I mean, I'm going to say believed in past tense only to answer the question, like for referring to that time. So don't jump down my throat about certain things. This is just to get it out of the way, that I believed that there was one God. that he was 3 in 1. He was the Holy Spirit, he was the Father, he was the Son, and all three simultaneously exist, but separately, but also as one, and configure themselves as one. I also believed that sin separates us from God, that our everyday actions, our natural foe of our want to and our flesh is what takes us away from that, because we are fallen, decrepit, and sinful. And the only way to be able to get yourself back from that is to accept Christ as your Savior for the sacrifice he did on the cross. You look at the entirety of the Old Testament, everybody had to sacrifice an animal to atone for their sin, because sin is a very serious thing to God. And Jesus was the sacrifice that nailed it. Nobody had to sacrifice anything anymore. He's like, no, I am the one that paid the price. I paid the price for you. So that's very, like, so if there's any unclearness here, or if this is murky to anyone, like, I'm not messing around here. I believe that.
Right.
I went full force into that, man. Like I went to college for it. I based my first 2 relationships off of that. This is not something I took lightly.
No, and that
I'm not trying to be frustrated, but it's like, dude, it's just like this. I took this shit seriously, you know, like it's a big deal.
He's not kidding. You lived and breathed the church, Christianity, God, salvation. You were the epitome of the Christian homeboy.
Yeah.
You took everything. Well, you took everything that you were supposed to out of church. And what I mean is, you took it more serious than I did. And we'll get into that as far as, like,
right.
I think maybe in a sense why. You got to stay around the church scene a little longer than I did.
Right.
So who knows what that could have brought for me. But when it comes to, when you bring up sacrifice and sin,
yeah,
I'm not treading lightly. Fuck that. Why is that a sin? What I just said. Mm-hmm. Why?
Right.
God, this fucking thing that we're supposed to believe in,
mm-hmm.
said so.
Mm-hmm.
Because I said, fuck you, Kyle.
Mm-hmm.
Is the same as me going upstairs and murdering your wife? Nah, dude. Or fucking a little kid?
Mm-hmm.
That's the same? You're going to compare all of these, because a sin is a sin is a sin, is what they say in the Bible. Well, why is it a sin? Why is anything a sin? Why? Because something that we're supposed to just blindly, faithfully follow fucking said so.
Mm-hmm.
I got a problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
No. Because just like anything else, why is bitch a bad word? Why isn't book like, oh, he said book?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Isn't it so weird when you think about the context of things like that, where it's like, it's because you've look at, this is a perfect example. The other day I went up to Mom's place, and Devin and I were by ourselves in the living room, and we were just hooting and hollering like we normally do.
Right.
And I'll be honest, I didn't get a lot of sleep, so I was very, very sleep deprived. I went over there in the morning. I go over there. I think I was like half a cup of coffee in.
So like barely awake.
And I looked at him, and for some reason I said something. I'm like, yeah. And he was like, I said something to the effect of, man, I'm like, it trips me out, like how it's like 2 times 2 is 4, but 2 plus 2 is 4. And he just looked at me and went, 4? And I went, what? And he went, what the hell's 4? And he was messing with me, like he was just being his normal self. And I'm Like for a split second, I'm like,
you questioned yourself.
Like, is 4 a real number? Like,
yeah. Like
I was like, it was him and I were laughing about it because I was like thinking about me holding him up against a wall. Like, you tell me right now what the hell's going on, or I'm gonna bury your face into that tire over there that's spinning. And he would be like, yeah, well, it's better than living in a universe where 4's a number.
Yeah.
So it was just it's that kind of thing. Like when you try, it's kind of like when you say a word so many times, it like if you say silk, and
then you're like that's a stupid word. Why is that real? It
doesn't mean anything anymore.
It lost all meaning. Limit.
That's not one of those
words. Rudes.
This is why I wanted to do this one. Dude, this is perfect. And quite honestly, with that right there, with what you just said, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the podcast. This is what I want. This is what I want to. I want to rip this stuff open and truly get into this, and for at least a section of this podcast, explain why I'm fed up.
So, I guess
but in the same hand, I'm going to. It's one of those things where it's just kind of like that, like, Letterkenny moment of like, you didn't let me finish. So it's like, just let me get to the end of this, get through our bitching about the things that we have issues with. And I promise you, we're going to come to a place that is good. So
do you want to experiment ever?
As far as
different religions?
The most that I have delved into is Buddhism.
So no,
what I mean by that was just the sheer act of meditating, understanding that, like looking into the text of that. Also, TJ, who has been a very good friend of mine for a long time, one of my best friends. He is a very, very devout Buddhist, and him and I had some very tough conversations after I had kind of walked away, and I was like, look, I want to know what you think about this. So it's if anything, that would be the only one. I'm not really wanting to do that, only because I'm just kind of done with a lot of things. Like even the idea of just a deity right now, it's just it's got a very bad taste in my mouth, and it's like
right.
Go and say anything else. Not saying eventually that I wouldn't or would, but it's just.
Do you remember? Do you remember It's a joke, but Billy Gardell.
Yep. The Gardell.
And what I mean by experimenting with other religions is that when I've heard almost every style of religion say the same thing, it's all the same story. It's just written in this book for us, or the names are changed, or this or this. It's all, there's a Messiah, there's something you worship. There was the beginning of the world with it, and then then the now,
right?
And Jews are the same. Buddhist is the same. Satanist is the same. Like even Wiccan, like it's all the same. It's all the same story.
Adam, if you're watching, keep watching, Bubba. Don't you worry. So
Adam,
yeah, he's a good friend of mine. So
okay, And now I will say one thing. I have toyed, now not to actually like believe in, but I am very curious at like the satanic culture.
It's interesting.
Reason being is not that I'm wanting to like be that by any means. I want to know. I have heard very different things over the years of Satanists that are like, nah, man, we get a bad rap. Or, and then there's the one that's like, I want to eat your eyeball and suck all your blood out. Like,
right.
No, I mean like a real one. A real Satanist that has a real understanding and grasp on it. That I've heard that you run into more Satanists over your lifetime than like you do like any other some other religion. But anyways, so that is something that I have toyed with wanting to dabble in just to kind of see.
I think it's just like how there's people that own a Satanist Bible. It's like they're curious. It's research for them. It's the idea.
I guess that's what it is. Research. I want to do like a research. Yes,
dude. I would love nothing more than to say that in my lifetime I was able to speak to all people of all faiths. Being able to understand, like, dude, I love having conversations with people, dude. I love learning why people tick. I love understanding why people believe the things that they do. So if you're talking about being open in that aspect and like getting to like talk to people and do that, I love that.
That's what I mean.
Adopting a whole new belief system, that sounds like a lot of work for me right now.
No, not a whole new belief system.
So, right.
Just a general curiosity on certain ones.
I think it's one of those things that I would want it to be developed in a way that is very, very in depth. And if I can do that, I would love it. That would be really cool.
All right. Well, let's continue on.
Okay. So let's go ahead and let's look at something very simple, but also as something that is very, very complicated. Let's look at the attributes of God, specifically of what is being described in the biblical aspect of the Bible. God's attributes. He is omnipresent, present in all places at all times. He is omnipotent, of a deity, having unlimited power, able to do anything. Number 3, he is omniscient, and he knows everything. So
again, this is where I'm going to have problems with some things.
So this is, and I'm not meaning this in a dickish way of why I'm doing this, but I have some verses I want to read.
Okay.
So first one, consider the following, and I'm going to give the context of each. That way people know that I'm not taking this out of context. You can go read Jeremiah 1 that I'm going to quote verse 5, but you can read the entire context. I understand the context of this. This is not a verse that I believe is applicable to every person. And what I mean by that is that Jeremiah, in the book of Jeremiah, he had a very, very specific calling. Mm-hmm. And this is God basically speaking to him and giving him the confidence of him going into the mission that God has given him. And he says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart, and I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Now, let's look at something here, though. If God of the Bible truly is the one true God, he would not just be limited to Jeremiah of knowing you before you were formed in the womb. He would know that. The only thing I think that wouldn't apply here to people, as far as like, you know, or not to people, but like depending on the person, is that I appointed you as a prophet to the nations. Jeremiah was a prophet. So it's like you can't apply that to, you know, every single person, but everything before then. So if we just take out that, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. There's a beautiful song by Disciple that says that, like, I've had my eye on you since before you were born. It's that whole idea of that. And this is where the next verse makes this very uncomfortable. Exodus 4:21 through 22. The Lord, and this is in all capital letters, so this is God the Father, the main one. Whenever you see this in the Bible, if you see L-O-R-D, that's the O-R-D is lowercase, that's referring mainly to Jesus, Lord. This is capitalized, the Lord. So this is God the Father. Oh, shit. If you remember the story of Moses sees a burning bush. He's told to go to Egypt to set his people free. All that stuff. The burning bush. I think you were burning some bush.
No, taking my bird in my bush.
That's right. No, but so Moses is in a constant fight with Pharaoh. This is what God the Father, the Lord, says to Moses. When you return to Egypt, see that you perform before Pharaoh all the wonders I have given you the power to do. But I will harden his heart so that he will not be able to let your people go. Then say to Pharaoh, this is what the Lord says, Israel is my firstborn son. Now, to give some understanding as to, let me make sure that I read that. I was welling up. But I will harden his heart so that he will not let the people go. Mm-hmm. A very good friend of mine. His name is JP. One of the best just human beings I've ever met in my life. Him and I would talk about this verse. We never got super deep into it, but it was a verse that challenged him. He's like, God hardened Pharaoh's heart so he wouldn't have faith. He's in full control of everything. He can do anything, and he has the ability to do anything. And he's like, dude, I wrestle with that, dude. He's like, for anybody that truly reads the Old Testament and understands what's happening. Now, I understand in the context, again, context is everything. In the context of Exodus, this is literally God's people that have been imprisoned, and he's had enough. And he's basically saying, my people are being set free. We need to establish into the land that I have set aside for them. You find a lot of this in the Old Testament of that prophets of God, appointed ones of God, if they are messed with, their enemies are destroyed in very horrible ways. So there's that good Christian boy side of me that sees this and it's like, well, it's like you're fucking with God's people. Like it's like but on the other hand too, as messed up as it is, and Pharaoh was not a good dude. I'm not trying to argue for anything to that effect. I'm not saying he's better or worse than Hitler or that he's better or worse than your neighbor. What I'm saying though is Pharaoh was moralistically not a good dude. Even in that, he was not given the option to respond properly to when to when Moses showed up. Now, I don't know whether or not this was like maybe after the second or third time that Moses went and pleaded to him. Maybe it's been a while since I've read this. But when you read that, it's like God basically just says, I will harden his heart.
Here's my thing. When it comes to, so I'm not trying to disprove anything, but who's to say, let's say a scenario like that God hardened his heart so that he just is an asshole and just won't, no matter what the fuck he does. Mm-hmm. How was that honestly documented? What if it was just the fact of they knew the story of Jeremiah, he came back and was like, I did everything I could, and this motherfucker still wouldn't.
You mean Moses, not Jeremiah?
Sorry,
Moses.
Yes, sorry.
I was like, is he bringing in the other one?
Yeah, no.
Sorry, not Moses, yeah.
But
you're fine. When it comes to biblical names, it's very easy to get them mixed up if you're not organized, so don't feel bad.
I wasn't, yeah. But to just be like, nope, he just didn't, because God told me he was just going to harden his heart. No, he was probably still just a fucking asshole.
This is
so to sit there and tell me that in a book that was written by the prophets and all of these things, again, you're going to sit there and tell me because this word means this, or because I do something wrong, it's a sin, or anything like that this entity has this much power over everybody that he creates, and is going to create. Mm-hmm. No, then you know what? Fuck you, because you already know the ending. You are just like Bruce Almighty. You're just on the top of an anthill with a big fucking magnifying glass burning off my feelers and watching me squirm. Mm-hmm. Go fuck yourself then. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about it a lot of times. Because when I sit there and I know that I grew up in a Christian household, like you've said, you just took it a little further with your, I guess, quote unquote, faith. Mm-hmm. I am a good person. Because I say fuck and have sex before I'm married and, like watching scary movies and whatever have you. So what, dude? Mm-hmm. Does that make me a terrible person because I like to drink beer? Does it make me a terrible person that I like to lust after a hot woman every once in a while? No. Mm-hmm. Again, how does that separate or how does that qualify me to be in the same scenario as a rapist and murderer as far as a sin goes?
Yeah.
Because I said, fuck right now. Okay, well, you know what? No, I am a good person. I've done my living as far as a Christian. We're not meant to be perfect. If we were all meant to be perfect, we would all be Jesus. Mm-hmm. Not one person on this earth is meant to be perfect. So we can't live up to that fact. You can't, no matter what you do, every day, you're going to do something. Just because I don't say a single swear word doesn't mean I don't sin in some other way.
Yep.
So that to me is completely fucked. No matter what I do all day long, I can do my fucking damnedest. I wasn't trying to swear all that, but
I get it. But this is the cave cast, man. We're in the man cave. We're having a conversation, man.
It doesn't matter what I do. I'm going to sin. But I also don't mean that just because I'm saved gives me a free sin card.
See, this is where Paul talks about this in the New Testament, where he's like, well, since we have grace, shouldn't we sin so grace may abound? And he's like, and that's when he says the Greek word is meganoita. He says, absolutely not. It's funny you said that.
I just look at it this way, is that if God, the Father, the Lord, mm-hmm. He's already seen this. Mm-hmm. He knows if me and you were going to go to hell or not. He mm-hmm. knows. Mm-hmm. He's just going to let us fuck around for a while, though. No, man, that's some bullshit. Don't sit there and tell me, you know what? Then you should have made a good planet, a good people of good mind. You shouldn't have put temptation. I don't give a fuck what you say, just because Lucifer and it was your right-hand man and wanted to be better than you and you cast him down. If that's the case, you have the power to be like, nah, fool, you can't come up here and tempt Eve. Mm-hmm. Bitch, get the fuck out of here then. That's how I feel. Mm-hmm. I cuss God all the time.
Isn't it interesting when you finally peel that back and you're like, okay, so if you like, why did Lucifer even make it past the point to be able to even tempt Eve? Have. Right, and this is where there's a lot of
don't give me that decision. No, don't give us a decision. Make mm-hmm. us the perfect race because you have the fucking power. Mm-hmm.
This is where
that's how it should be used.
This is where, like I was going to say, was that it's like there are books and just syllabus and just everything that you have of unclear theological things like that. Like for instance, when you look at
it's fucking obnoxious. Dude.
One of the biggest things that people would use as this isn't really like, you'll understand what I'm saying about this, is that it's like when people are like, well, how did Adam and Eve populate the earth? Like that's not talked about in the Bible. We just jump ahead a couple of verses or whatever, and then suddenly the earth is populated. And it's one of those things where when you truly read every word, it's the fact that it says they had an abundance of children. Now, incest was not outlawed until I think it was Exodus. So they had it was basically the idea that if God understands and knows everything, essentially the idea he knew mutations would occur after that. And he said, all right, you're done.
So then how did they break off?
Huh?
Look, man, it all started with Adam and Eve. Mm-hmm. Technically, it's all incest. How did you break off from the bloodline? You didn't.
There's an entire genetic study about it, is that the idea that the different territories and the different groups that everybody, I'm going to smell my drink if I keep doing that. It's the idea that when you have every single group and family or settlement at that point, because everything was growing into the aspect of just being well populated, what you have is that when you look at genetics, the further away you are from basically the original descendant, the safer you are. So
I don't mean to be gross, but it would be like okay, well, this 19-year-old is going to essentially sleep with a like great grandmother of sorts, in a sense that they're so separated that starts a different type of bloodline.
Kind
or
of
like an aunt or something.
No, it would more than likely end up being the older one would be the man of the family. So for instance,
I'm just saying. Right.
So for instance, when you look in the Old Testament, you see how this is where the entire separation of the God's people and not God's people starts, is when Abraham basically is told by God, your wife is going to give birth to a child. She was really, really old. And he was like, that ain't happening. So she was like, well, go ahead and just take my maidservant who's super young and impregnate her. And then that way you can have a bloodline. He did it. And God was like, did you even try to sleep with your wife?
But see, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Listen to this dumb shit. Mm-hmm. Listen to what you just said.
Mm-hmm. It was the idea that Abraham did not trust God.
It doesn't matter about trusting God.
Well, no, it is, because that's the whole point of that part is that. So that's what they're saying, is that it was the whole idea that he didn't trust him, that his wife could have a child. So he went to the next way down.
Wasn't she like 105?
She was older than that. This is
correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let me dust off that John real quick and see if it's still usable.
This is where you will see a lot in the Old Testament of that God says, look, this is what I have commanded. Do this and this will happen. Where people fucked up was when they didn't do it, like Jonah getting swallowed by the whale. So it's different. It's stuff like that.
Don't give me, you didn't do what I said. Motherfucker, mm-hmm. You already knew I wasn't going to do it.
And this is where the mind-breaking aspect happens.
Make me want to do it. Don't sit there and go bang your wife. No, go bang your wife. No, go bang your wife. It should be go sleep with your wife and have a kid. Okay.
That's what he said. He said, take her in your bed and have a child. And Abraham said, no. Yeah.
What I mean is that he already knew that he was going to say, no, mm-hmm. I'm going to bang this hot maid. Mm-hmm. If that's the case, God should have said, sprinkle. Oh, yep, I'm going to go lay with my wife and have a child, because he has the power, remember? Mm-hmm. So why make us squirm?
This is where free will comes in.
Fuck a free will. Mm-hmm. You can't. No, dude. Don't.
This is just like saying, like, why does a nuclear reactor react the way that it does? Well, no, that is the aspect of how Christianity works. The entirety of the biblical aspect of it is that it's the entire point of that you have free will. Now, you can also look at this in the
then why can't I still go to heaven with having all my free will?
See, and we're gonna get into that. So, like, just like the
why is my threatened with hell and eternity for fucking ever? Like, literally no time frame ends. Mm-hmm. And I got to get threatened with that shit? Mm-hmm. Man, don't even fucking have me.
We're going to talk about that too.
Don't even have me. You know what? Remember that dude, that Indian guy, whatever, that sued his parents and won for having him?
Because he didn't want to be born.
You know what? Fucking good for him.
I didn't know legally that worked for somebody.
That's bullshit. I didn't ask for this.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Me either, fool.
Yeah, right.
Me either. Cheers. Like, this is where I'm at anymore with my life. Mm-hmm. I cannot believe the shit that me and you, and again, you'll get into yours, but that we have gone through, lived by, and this is what I get out of life. Mm-hmm. Fuck that. I did everything I was supposed to.
Mm-hmm. It's infuriating.
I work a 9-to-5 shit ass job. I live in my brother's house. I don't live with my family that I tried to create. Nothing works. Nothing works. If It doesn't matter if work's going good, then my car fucks up. If my car's running good, I'm fighting with my significant other. If I'm not fighting with my significant other, I'm out of fucking money. If I'm not out of fucking money, then it is one thing after the next.
And it never stops.
And it never stops, man.
You have small little breaks here and there. It's kind of like how Deadpool put it, was that he's like, life is kind of like a big ball of shit toenails and cum juice rolled up into a horrible burrito. And every once in a while you get a little commercial break. My commercial break was coming to an end. And that's when he passes out and he finds out he has cancer. So this is where
that's where I said, yes, I'm depressed all the time. And I don't, again, please don't take this as I'm suicidal or
we already talked about this in the depression podcast. Yeah, so if you haven't kept up, that's not our problem. If you're this deep, you've dedicated, you should have already watched the depression podcast.
But that's what I mean. Like I have moments of my days that are great.
Yeah.
But most of the time it's fake. I don't give a shit anymore. And it's because of things like this. It's because of the things that are just constantly going on. And I know that that's life. And that's why I roll with the punches. And that's where I don't think it matters if I worshiped God all of my life or I didn't give a fuck about him. I would still be right here in this basement, not just making the podcast, but in this same scenario. It doesn't matter. To me, my outcome of my life was already predestined according to the Bible. So it doesn't matter what the fuck I did. I was always going to be this miserable, just kind of half-assed person all the time.
I think this is interesting because you and I have, like, for instance, when I was very, very deep into what I was doing and had consistency to my faith, you and I talked a lot about things.
And I'd ask you why.
Right. It's like but I think this is probably, I think that it's better that I'm hearing this now where I'm at because, dude, I feel with you, man.
I tried to tell you, and I didn't mean to like bring you down with that at a young age, but you were due. I tried to point you in different directions, whether it be not to like break your faith, but like, buddy, go live your life a little bit. Go do this. Go do that. Don't let this bind you down, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. I don't think it matters.
I think that what I'm very, very thankful for is, like, for instance, if you look right behind you on what's on my walls, my guitars.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of what I learned about how to play well, how to play with style, how to understand where music pieces belong was all from me being at church. But Jim Root from Slipknot's the reason why I wanted to pick up a guitar. I did so much with film. I love film.
Correct.
I 100% am thankful for Adam and JP giving me a chance, never knowing how that situation could have worked out, bringing in some kid that had no idea what he was doing. But I did. I worked really well with them. I still consider them some of my best friends I've ever known. Period. But I tell you what, dude, Jurassic Park is why I want to make movies. I was 5 when I saw that. And I never wanted to be a dick, but I never lost myself along the way. Just my belief system now is different. And what I'm finding is that when I want to have these tough conversations, because somehow, thankfully, I was able to make it to this point in my life where I didn't do something that could have altered a lot of shit in a very negative way. I've been very, very fortunate. I am very thankful for that, for the people in my life. And if there is a God that is watching over me, I am thankful that things have worked out for me the way that they have. They're still fucking horrible. I didn't get abused when I was 9 and go through all that turmoil or whatever. It's like, to not say that I got some notches in my belt. Trust me, I got plenty of notches. My notches are just different. And I think that what is beautiful about this situation is that every single person has a story. Every single person has a place that they've come through. Every single person has something that they are fighting through, that they are failing at, that they are victorious about, that they are regretting, that they are loving. That's never going to go away, dude. There are people on this planet that have everything that are probably in a worse state than the two of us combined.
Oh,
and that's
no doubt.
And it's so weird to think about that. Like it's so like, think about this. This is the in-depthness that is created in this universe. I'm going to go on a tangent now since you've had your tangent. I'm going to do my thing. So it's the fact that we have literally a world. I walk by people every day. Every single day I interact with new people, let alone the consistency of the people that I interact with every single day. My coworkers, my family, my friends, my ex-friends, my ex-family, or like whatever, however you want to look at it. If there's a hell, I don't want them to go. I don't hate.
Isn't that weird?
I think about this.
Isn't that weird?
It's so fucked up. It's you think like do you? I want to know if you do this. When you go to somewhere in public, do you think about them? It's just like where it's like what's their eternity going to look like?
Yes.
Yeah, it's horrible.
And that's what I don't understand is that when I think about everything, even if I'm having a bad day with like God or whatever, I do that all the time. I do that all the time. I'll be like, I don't like what's Alan's faith? What's Brad's faith? What is my old boss that I just saw tonight? Like what is his eternity? Mm-hmm. What is this? Hell, Dustin Diamond. He's a fucking cockbag, asshole, douchebag.
Died at the age of 44.
But you know what?
Oh, that's crazy.
Doesn't mean I want him to go to hell, man.
No. And this is and I'm not trying to add more gasoline onto this fire. No pun intended, I swear to God. But I should have pulled it up. I thought about it, but I didn't know if we were going to get this deep, and we did. But there is a verse that talks about. I mean, there's more verses on hell than there is about heaven. So it's like it's because
it's trying to scare you.
See, I have that knack to believe that too. But in the same hand, this is where I am at. Is that I have so much reverence that has been basically, I'm not going to say beaten into me because that's improper. That gives a wrong thing about it's like where I've come from. I've had such a great spiritual upbringing, but verse on hell was made.
I don't know, man. I feel like that's just a scare tactic. I don't know a lot of spots. But.
Yeah, Matthew 25:41. It says, this is in the Old English. It says, "Depart from ye, cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels." Essentially saying that God created hell for the devil and his servants.
Correct, and that's what I mean.
It was created to the severity to punish those of Lucifer and his followers.
Then you know what? Don't group me. Mm-hmm. With those assholes because I like to have sex and say the word fuck.
Here's the thing.
Just because no, I understand because you have to be saved. What I'm saying
is that it's here's the thing. You doing those things is not what sends you to hell.
That's what I'm saying is that
the corruptness of you, of like even being sinful. Like that's what sends you.
That's what I'm saying is I understand that I have to be saved. Mm-hmm. But what I mean is that but with me being saved,
isn't it crazy how I still defend this even though I'm on the other side? Like I'm not, but you know what I'm saying. Like
right? No, what I was trying to say is that because I like to have sex and I say the word fuck. Mm-hmm. Yes, I understand I have to be saved. What I mean by that is that because I like to do those things, that I'm saved, I shouldn't be doing those things. Mm-hmm. Right. It's you shouldn't be doing this. Mm-hmm. It's frowned upon or you look down upon or I'm going to have to stand in front of God and be told about every single time I said this word or every single time that I did this impure thing. Get the fuck out of here, man. No. If I'm saved, your son dying on the cross took that away. So then get the fuck over it, is how I look at it then. Mm-hmm. That's what you did. You got the fuck over it. Then be done. Don't sit there and torture. No, that's what it is. You're going to sit there and torture somebody by going through all of your ridiculous sins and being judged. No, dude, you already judged us before you had us born, and you already knew. Just let us in then. Do what you said you're going to do. Don't sit there and pull your dick out and say, mine's the biggest. I get to do all of these things before I let you in. Mm-hmm. No, this isn't a dick swinging contest. And this is, you're God, remember? We get it. Mm-hmm. Fucking quit, dude.
This is the frustration of that.
Getting really mad right now.
Mm-hmm. You're going to. Because this is, I think that it's clear enough that this is not being taken from a state of ignorance. This is taken from a true state of that. I want, like,
I've lived it, dude. I've done it. We've done it.
This is where I'm having the issue. The biggest issue of all is that, you know what? Okay, I can look past Pharaoh, because what if I'm sorry. I'm going to pull a George Carlin thing right now. I'm in a generous mood. Okay, so let's just say for just a split second that Pharaoh would have been a piece of shit anyway. There's no way he would have made it into heaven. Right. Regardless, God hardened his heart more. That way he definitely wouldn't get into heaven, but he wasn't getting in anyway. So that one, whatever. We can go ahead and let's push that to the side. This to me is while there are tons of satire made of this thing. It's something that we're all we've grown up with, especially how I think it was Brad Stein, who's a Christian comedian. Even he gets it. Was that he's like, I walked into my girl's or my friend's nursery. He's like, now this woman hand painted everything in this room, and she's from my church, and she's a fantastic artist. He's like, however, over in the corner. I think it was Brad Stein. I don't know. I'm probably misquoting. Anyway, the point still stands. He's like, over there's Noah's Ark. And they're all smiling. And he's like, no. He's like, this Noah's Ark.
A panic situation. Get on the fucking boat, dude.
Noah's Ark was the last thing that people would smile at. It's just like, I'm out.
We gotta go.
Pack the shit. Don't leave the kids. We don't need them.
Yeah.
So no, but this is really honestly where I'm going to be on my pedestal. Is Genesis 6:5-8. The Lord, the Father, the Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth, and that every inclination of thought of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he had made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the creatures that move along the ground. For I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. And obviously we know the rest of the story. Noah was a faithful servant of God and basically said, let me spare my family.
Fantastic boat builder.
Yeah. Yes. What's a cubit? So, here's the thing.
Should have had him build the ark. Titanic.
He did build the ark.
I meant the Titanic.
Just like that old joke where they're like, hey, how many animals did Jonah take on the ark? And it's like, oh, didn't he take 2 by 2? It's like, no, Noah built the ark. Jonah got swallowed by a whale.
Yes.
That was a trick question.
I actually wanted to look something up before we go on. Well, go ahead and finish your thing, but I'm going to look up lyrics.
Okay, so this is where I have a major issue. I don't know if this is just because I take this shit very personally when it comes to people in my life, but I don't like getting coffee with people if they don't want to get a coffee. I don't like having conversations with people if they don't want to talk to me. I don't like being, open and vulnerable with people that are not going to be willing to do the same thing with me. And I know it's honest. this is where the mentality of this is so mind-breaking, is that you create humanity perfect, but give them free will, which then essentially, essentially gives you the ability to basically let go, still govern and do what you're going to do, but essentially they have their own decisions. But again, if you look at this from what I was going to say, was that in Supernatural, when the Archangel Michael is talking to Dean, he's like, you really think I'm not going to use you as a vessel? He's like, you're going to say yes. It's already written. He's like, free will is an illusion, Dean. You think you're doing what you think you're doing what you want to do, but you're doing what has already been put in place.
See, that's what pisses me off.
So now this is the question though, is that I'm going to keep hitting this thing. Here's the question though. Was that only a line in Supernatural? Because number one, dude, it's a fucking TV show. But in the same hand too, is that I'll tell you what, that made me think. I was young when I watched that. That was probably one of the most sobering things I ever saw on that show. That show is very much about God, the devil. Now, it's very improper from what if you look at it from a biblical aspect, obviously, but it's very, very different. But the point is that it's like, dude, it's like, that's, to me, I look at it and I'm like, then what's the point? Like, it's if you regretted making humanity that you made in your image, you decided to do this.
Then
and
why do it?
You were not lonely. Because there is no scripture evidence to say that God was lonely. It's actually there was a theologian that said that that's a very improper thing to say that God was lonely and he created man to be able to have fellowship. No, he created man because he created man.
Because he could.
Because he see, and this is where you get into the whole moralistic aspect of this, and this is where you get into the deep things of like, okay, well, what created God? Well, God's eternal. He can't be created. He always existed. Well, we can't fucking comprehend that. How does anything even exist? How is this table, this mic? How are these things here? All these things come from the earth. All things come from matter. Matter cannot be destroyed or created.
See, that's
there is so much about this that is so infuriating. That is there, and this is where you're going to see all this as we're finishing up here. But I have a big problem with that. I have a very, very big problem with that. And it's like the idea that that you didn't like what you made, so you were basically going to wipe everything out and start over. But someone found favor with you and you still kept going and kept allowing the sentient, humanoid, spirit hybrid capable of existing and feeling pain in physical and spiritual form. They have the ability to experience the most wonderful things of life that you are going to then also restrict them on. In the world that you have created, you understand science. You understand how all this shit works. You know that we are at a severe disadvantage. You understand that we don't know what is truly going on, and you want everything to rely on faith.
Nah, fuck that.
Why? This is where it gets so convoluted. This is where I've had issues. I've thought about this for such a long time, and I am sorry to my spiritual advisors that I never brought this up to you, but to be very blunt, could you fucking blame me? This is if this falls apart, none of it works.
Do you think your life turned out the way it should have living the Christian life you did? Let me ask you that blunt right now.
I think
yes or no?
Yes. I think that there are aspects of my life that I definitely would not have had the dedication or the ability to do had I not experienced those things. Now, let me throw another curveball. Is that because I was in a religious environment, or was that because of the people I was surrounded by? It's not a clear question.
No,
I think it's, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I think it's a very unfair question. I think that
why?
Because of my journey is so clouded with that, where it's like the idea of that I don't know how I can differentiate what was God and what was man. And that's what's so infuriating, because it's like, dude, like I've told you before, like I've watched music videos of people worshiping, and it's like, I know what that feels like, dude. I know what that's like.
What I'm saying is that growing up, let's say the reason I stopped going to church was I started working.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It slowly phased me out. I worked on Sundays. Still
Good old fast food.
Yeah, still do.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not still work fast food, but I still work Sundays. What I'm saying is that you willingly kept going.
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying grow up in the same household.
Mm-hmm.
Decide, I don't want to go to church anymore. I just don't. I'm just not going anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You think your life would have changed drastically different?
I do. I genuinely do. The reason why, let me just give you just one example.
Probably for the better?
Probably not. Let me put it to you this way.
Do you feel like you sheltered yourself?
Oh, I definitely sheltered myself because the Bible required me to.
Exactly.
I think that
I don't mean be a party animal. I'm saying like.
No, that's exactly what I'm talking about, is that I didn't do all the other shit that everybody else was doing around me, whether it was my peers or it was my, predecessors or those that I was following. There is what I did for the majority of my time in my teenage and early 20s was I played my guitar and I made movies. I had a passion with that. So what I would say with this is that it's, again, did it originate from that? Not necessarily, but I tell you what, church is where I found all the ways to learn about how I did what I did. And this is where it gets really, really complicated. That's what, like I said, is that JP is one of the most established businessmen of my life. And I am so happy that he was brought into my life the time that he was, even though with him being a pastor, someone could look on that and be like, well, no, I discredit that. It's like, no, dude, JP is a very, very black and very black and white. He's a very gray dude. And what I mean by that is that he didn't hear, if I were to go to him and say, JP, I'm convicted about this. I've been sleeping with my girlfriend. I need to stop. I need to do what I need to do. JP would not jump down my throat. He would sit with me, probably share a pack of cigarettes with me and go, why is this happening? Tell me what's going on. It's like, he's like, you have told me before. And he would say that because I've told him before, I want to follow this. I want to obey. I want to do this, but I'm struggling. JP was somebody that, and that's a very, very severe example, but it's like, but it's being able to sit and have the conversations with him and Adam both. Adam was definitely more of a black and white drop the hammer type of dude, because he was like, that's just his personality, is that it's like, dude, either get your shit together or don't do it. Like, it's like, that's how his mentality is. JP was somebody that I was able to have very, very hard conversations with, where he was like, look, dude, he's like, I get it, man. He's like, I know why you're frustrated. I know why you're pissed off. I'm pissed off for you that you're in this situation that you're in. Like, because he's been there, he's done that. Like, he would hear the things I would bring to him, obviously in confidence to him and the stuff that we would talk about. But it was just, dude, it is so hard for me to differentiate, because this is what's so difficult about even doing what I'm doing now, which, I mean, is nothing when it comes to it. But I've had so many times that I've seen the physical pain. Let's just take away the mental aspect. I've seen the physical pain of people and what it looks like for them to experience it. And I used to use the whole Strom death from Saw or whatever to like talk about that. But like, no, I found one worse. And it was a real thing that happened to somebody. It was a guy got burned. And what it said was, man severely burned tries to calm his wife down on the phone. And he's a grown-ass man sitting in just his underwear. They've stripped him down. They've cut off all of his clothes. And he is covered in searing burns. And he is trying so hard to keep it together. And he is sobbing because he is in so much fucking pain. And they're applying the ointment. They're getting him bandaged up. They're doing it. And his wife called his cell phone. And one of the paramedics grabbed it. And they're like, well, this is paramedic. So-and-so, your husband is here. He is fine. He is alive. He is with us. He's just in a lot of pain right now. We're helping him. And he was able to pull himself together for about a minute and was like, he's like, honey, I'm okay. He's like, I'm really, really hurt. They're helping me. I'm okay. But like, he was just like, when they took the phone away, he just started sobbing again because he was in so much fucking pain. That is nothing. That is 100% nothing. A grown-ass man was immobilized because he was in so much fucking pain. This is where you hear the tough, bad dudes in movies or whatever, where it's like, it's like, I've seen grown men fucking start crying because I've cut off all their toes and fingers and I start cauterizing them and burning them in acid. Even they break. Everyone breaks. Everybody has a breaking point.
Yeah, but everybody also has a focal point.
This is where I would make the argument it won't matter. If the eternity, when you're truly faced with the idea of eternity and what that means, it means it's never stopping. There's no break.
Oh, yeah.
You don't catch your breath. There's no ability for you to be able to even comprehend anything else besides what you're experiencing in that moment. That has become your existence, not your life, your existence. Forever. And it will ultimately turn into what always was and what always will be. Eternity.
See, what eternity. What if it's wrong? What if we just go to sleep?
This is where you can go, like, if it's not true, then there's that, and then there's the idea.
I know.
Do we get reincarnated? Are we alive? Are we sentient and just in our dead bodies, and we get buried alive, and that's what we are for the rest of our like?
Can I?
It's horrible, man.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Do you ever yell at God?
No. Absolutely, yeah.
No, like physically,
yeah.
Scream.
Yep, in my car.
Oh yeah. Now, here's where
I would prefer if you're going to scream lightly into the mic, but yeah.
No.
If you're going to give an example,
no. I just mean okay.
Oh yeah.
Isn't it funny that you can curse God 1 minute and completely indulge yourself in him the next?
It's what David did all the time, man.
When it comes to, I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
But about a week ago, I was bad morning, just bad day, right off the rip. As soon as I opened my eyes, it was just one of them days, and it snowed. My car is awful in the snow.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like a bad snow. Wasn't a bad snow. Just enough but my job, thankfully for the time being where I work, is that I don't go until a little later than most people. It's still in the morning, but it's still a little later. I go in anywhere from 9:30 to 10:30 in the morning, but I also work until about 7 p.m.
Right.
Driving to work, and it just was bad on this nice big stretch of road that I needed to drive on. And it was just one of those things where anything that could have gone wrong that morning was going wrong.
Yeah. We are not even fully awake yet.
And now I'm driving, sliding all over the place, just waiting for my car to go off the road. Destroy it. Now I got to buy a new car. All the money I've said, like, just all of these things go through my mind. And I am just, fuck you, dude. Like, these are the things I'm saying. Like, you could have fixed it. Like, it's fucking 10 o'clock in the morning. Where's the fucking plow truck? You could have, because he can, remember? He could have made this plow truck go down this road 6 more times. That's where it pisses me off. And I am angry. And then a couple of days can go by, and I'll be up and I'll just be with my thoughts, driving or whatever it is. And it's just, you get this like urge come over you where you just almost apologize.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I was just so angry that day. Like, I don't know why or whatever. And you're just like,
it's kind of like, I got to eat. I feel better. I'm sorry.
Yeah. and it's, right. or it's always the fact that even when it's not even like that, I'll go, I quote, go to God and be like, why is it always that I'm coming to you when it's just something that I need?
Yeah.
Or that I want.
And isn't it so interesting how different your mentality changes whenever you realize there's a danger for you, and then immediately, okay, well, now I need your help.
Yeah. And that's where I mean is that I know that when I get angry with God, and I think the reason why is that I guess one of the things I wanted to touch on tonight that I didn't get to, and I don't want to necessarily make it quick, but I'm going to make it quick. Is we've talked about it before, is that I committed my life in my teenage years to God. And I turned into the devil himself for 10 years. Mm-hmm. I was, again, very, very disturbed individual, dark individual. And I think that was part of my departure when I realized that it didn't matter. It didn't matter that I loved God. It didn't matter that I served God. Mm-hmm. I became an evil, vindictive, just poisonous individual. Mm. You can't tell me that living my life, just because I didn't eat, sleep, and breathe like you did, but I did for the most part. I still became that person. God chose, quote, to test me. He made me go through that, right? Because this was his journey for me, correct? Like this was his this was his style for me. This was just what I was going to do. It didn't matter. That's why I said, do you think it would have been the same if you would have lived a different life? See, to me, that I lived my life in a Christian home. I became an evil individual, and I knew it. I knew what I was, and I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop it. I watched it, felt it, seen it, heard it every day. I liked it. It was powerful. It was fun. Mm-hmm. I look at the fact that if I would have lived my life completely secular, no up church bringing, no any of that, I would have still done the same thing. Why not? I was already raised in a religious home. I knew the difference. Somehow, some way, it still just became that way. So when it comes to how you choose to live your life, that's where I have a hard time believing, and that's where I also started breaking myself away from a religious God belief, and that you can have this power over somebody. I did everything, quote unquote, right from what you're supposed to. And that's what I still became. It disgusts me that that's what I was. I know it now, and I can reflect, and I can be, I can do all these things. But that's what irritates me, is that my Savior allowed me to still be that. Don't give me this, oh, it was a test. Go fuck yourself, dude. That was a 10-year test. 10 years. Mm-hmm. I was that person. I treated that person that way. I acted that way. Fear is an incredible thing. I watched fear cripple a woman for 10 years. It's empowering. Now I know why he likes it.
Do you really think that that's where that comes from with him?
Correct.
Why?
He likes it. He wants to watch you squirm. Now, just like we talked about.
Now here's my question though. And this is where I'm going to play devil's advocate against your advocate. You are clearly somebody who has gone through something like that and understands that. if you're going to, this is where this is going to break your, this is where it's like kind of like the implosion's going to happen.
Our cameras are off. Sorry, guys.
No, it's not, mine's still on. Yours is also.
Fuck your camera.
If you've made it this far, then thank you. No, but just like how certain people have issue, and I'm in no way relating this to you. I'm meaning this as a like vague sense, is that like if somebody were to have essentially daddy issues, you have lesser of an issue, or you have lesser of an ability to be able to view God as a father because your father was a piece of shit. Like it's like that. There's
something along the, yeah.
It's or like you, or maybe like you, the idea of community or family is something that's been completely just ruined for you in that aspect. So when people are welcoming you into a congregation or they want to help you, that's going to turn you off really fucking quickly. You're only going to see the negative aspects of that. I am not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is that you speak very boldly of that aspect. And I would really try to dig into why. Because if this truly is the God of the Bible we are talking about, then all scripture is God breathed and is 100% real, which would mean that God cannot sin and cannot come from a sinful place. That is a sinful thing to do. This is where it's either all true or none of it's true. And this is where this gets very, very fucking hard, because
a lot of days I don't think it's true.
And I 100% agree. This is where
I feel bad for feeling that way.
Isn't it? It's horrible. It's horrible.
And it makes me feel like because I say it out loud or even feel it, that I'm going to hell.
And this is where I have my reservations of that, because.
But you know what? Some days I'm okay with it.
I've never been able to be okay with it.
Are you okay with death?
I was when I was younger. Now, no.
I have come to that point of death is inevitable. Like, we know that.
Right.
Now, just because like I watched. Sorry, guys. I know, and I don't mean just because, seeing us makes it different. I know. Sorry, my camera's off, and I'll make this short. I hate not being able to see the person I talk to or whatever, but
it's all radio, man. It's all good.
I watched a friend die, wither away to nothing in a bed.
Yeah.
We all know he was okay with dying.
Mm-hmm.
He was ready. He had been ready for 20 years. And we're all okay with letting him go. But when it came down to those that on Christmas, when I went and saw him last, and he had passed 4 days later, and he just sat there, and all he could do was like observe the room.
Yeah.
He didn't want to die. He didn't want to die. He wanted to continue his life. Now, when I say I'm okay with dying, I am okay with dying. When it comes down to those last few moments, everybody wants it back. I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
We want it back.
You're describing exactly. I watched somebody talk about that that was terminally ill for a long time, and they said you think you're ready,
but you never are.
You're never ready.
So I can sit here and flex all day that I'm ready, because I am. I'm okay with death.
Mm-hmm.
I am okay with it. I know that it's coming. I could get hit by a bus tomorrow morning on my way to work and die instantly, or die in 10 days in the fucking hospital. It doesn't matter. What I'm getting at is that it's going to happen, whether it's peacefully or violently.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's peacefully. I've always made a joke that I will die a violent death somehow, just because of how awful I've been. Honestly. With the way I treated said person for all those times that I said that fuck God because he made me that person. Mm-hmm. He made me that person, Kyle. Mm-hmm. That motherfucker made me act like that. Remember? So don't sit there and tell me that everything that you do in your life has a great positive reaction. I don't give a fuck what you are. You could be a reverend. You could be a deacon. You could be a politician. You could be a teacher. I don't care. Bad things happen to good people all the fucking time. Mm-hmm. And that's bullshit when it comes to a religion or a fucking entity or a spirit or a being of any type that walked this earth, created this earth, breathed on this earth. Don't do that to somebody. You made that person be that way. Mm-hmm. And that's horrible. That is a horrible thing to do, to put not only that person through, but the other person as well. She didn't deserve that. That woman would have kissed the floor I walked on after muddy boots. Yeah. She loved me. Think about that. Mm-hmm. She loved me.
That's why it lasted for so long, man.
He made her unharden her heart. Think about that, like how I'm just going to harden his heart. No, and he sat there and said, let this bitch just get fucking stomped on for 10 years. I'm just going to, sprinkle some dust over here. Yep, 10 years. Let her just go through that. Why?
See, this is where I would make the argument that God doesn't make things happen. He lets things happen.
Dude.
And again, this is where it all comes down to scriptural context, is that if he cannot sin, he cannot create those situations. What he can do, and it's fully proof of that, again, if we're going to take it as truth, is that with Job, is that Job was the most well-behaved of all the prophets of the entirety of the Old Testament. And Satan shows up in the courtroom and looks at God and goes, and he's like talking to him about like he has to check in. That's one of I've always loved that about like that kind of like thing where it's like he's loose, but he's still almost like God's his parole officer kind of a thing. But,
yeah.
I've always just kind of found an irony in that where it's kind of like, my point being is that God says, have you considered my servant Job? Look as to how well that he is like, treated others and has served me and has done everything. Have you considered him? And Satan looks at him and goes, he's only that way because you gave him everything. You take everything away from him, he'll curse you.
Yeah.
And God looks at him and says, take everything away from him, but do not harm him. Go.
And that's where I sit there and say, look at this. I went through all of that in my life and I have cursed God. Mm-hmm. But then there are days I wake up and I'm like, you know what, man? Thank you.
We've had those days, like especially going through 2020 and that fucking shit year where you were like, this shit that's happening is kind of making me at least not like embrace it again, but like at least like lean back into it, dude. Like, no, you're not alone.
It's incredible.
It's hard. It's hard.
It's incredible. I think this needs to be a two-parter.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's
end on something.
Let's end on a good thing. And as much as a good thing as this can be, a lot of people are probably going to look at me as a Rhett knockoff, with Rhett and Link. Rhett, if you ever watch this, if by some miraculous way you see this, number one, thank you for everything that you and Link do.
You guys are incredible.
You guys are awesome. Just from a artist standpoint, thank you for everything.
An artist standpoint and a father standpoint, you both are very much a wholesome channel.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? And sorry to veer off real quick, but
so the podcast.
I'm a very vulgar individual, and both Rhett and Link are a wholesome channel that my daughter can watch and I watch at the same time. No swear words, no inappropriateness. No, there's some innuendos, but
right.
They're not going to get
Watch a Pixar film. It's the same exact thing. So I'm sorry, but like,
so it's again, I know that it's probably not going to happen, but you're right. Guys, if you ever hear, see, or catch wind of this, thank you, because that is definitely, you guys are what inspired actually this actual video though. So yeah.
Yeah. Now I don't really I'm careful on how I say this, but like, I don't really identify with Link's spiritual deconstruction
Haven't watched. I'm not gonna lie.
It's worth it. I've watched both of them one time at least. Rhett's I think I've watched twice because Rhett I relate to him more in his mentality and how he was going about things, how scared he was to bring this to, you know, everybody's attention. I mean, he talks about it. He's like this damn near ruined my marriage. Like this damn near like ruined me as a human being of the people that I was like, you know, surrounded by, like, you know, just because like him and Rhett and Link they were missionaries for years. They Rhett was very specific on Jesus, on what that means, on like when you stand before God and when you are, you know, weight of your sins or whatever. Like if you, like, without Christ, it's all the sin is on you, but Christ is there in the throne room with you going, no, that was me. I took that. He's fine. Rhett got that specific. It was really weird to finally see somebody on a celebrity level that I could finally, on a faith aspect, relate to prior and now. Mm-hmm. And it was so weird, man. Like it was crazy. It was incredible. It's a situation that the timing of when it happened and the place that I experienced it in, like everything, it was incredible. Rhett ended his spiritual deconstruction with these 5 questions. And while I don't want to discourage anybody's spiritual growth, this is something that I've not been able to get out of my head. And we're going to end with this. And then the last quote that he left off with a reassurance for part 2. Question 1. If I don't have to believe that God ordered his chosen people to slaughter men, women, and children by the thousands, then why would I? Number 2. If I don't want to believe that every religious experience of any person who is not a Christian is ultimately illegitimate, then why would I? Number 3. If I don't have to believe that anyone who doesn't have a relationship with Jesus, i.e., the majority of people who have ever lived, are going to spend an eternity being literally tortured in a fire, experiencing never-ending pain and suffering, then why, no pun intended, in the hell would I believe that? Number 4. If I can somehow accept the idea that hell exists because of God's holiness, why would I believe in a God who would choose to create that particular world where people have no choice whether or not they're going to be born? But once they are born, if they don't adopt the correct understanding of God, he will punish them forever.
Yeah. Fuck.
Why believe in that God if I don't have to?
Because he's not real.
And number 5, he says, why am I still doing this? Why? And this is when he was at the end of his rope and his faith. Like that was for him. Those were his 5 questions to himself. And he talks about it. He's like, I fought through this, dude. He's like, I've been on the other side of this. And his approach was very, very much in the scientific aspect of chromosomes, of genes, and looking at the evidence that he was saying with that. But this is where, even in all of those 5 questions, this is what he ended, or this is what we're going to end with, is that he says, and this is so beautiful. Even in all of that, he still says this. He says, I understand that it is unreasonable to accept Christianity to be a set of scientifically verifiable principles. It's faith, implying that some sort of believing without seeing is involved, and more specifically, Christianity, quote, is a relationship with Jesus, and relationships are not well defined or experienced scientifically. However, I don't think it is insignificant that the deeper I have dug into Christianity with a thirst for the truth, the more difficult it has become to have the faith. In fact, for me, it has become impossible. As Eric said, this is not the end. There's going to be a part 2. I think that we're probably going to cleanse our palate this next week and do something lighthearted and upbeat.
Oh, part 2 won't be for a while.
But this is what I want this podcast to be, not these tough situations and things like that. What I mean by that is that this is the cave cast. When you're in my man cave, we have conversations about movies. We have conversations about friends and family and farts and, our favorite villains.
Yeah.
We talk about what would it be like for, if Thanos, didn't get the gauntlet and then somebody else did it and Ultron had it. We talk about music. We talk about all that stuff.
Speaking of, I'm so sorry. And I know that I think he's probably maybe getting it removed. I hope he does. And a fucking idiot. I think he just rented it. I don't know.
What?
Anyways, did you see what
I'm not even talking about that. That is the dumbest shit I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That is so stupid. That is so fucking stupid.
$24 million gemstone put in dude's forehead.
What was this dumbass's name? What was his name?
Here's the fucked up thing is, okay, his name
I didn't even read the full article. I just saw a body modification and the whole vision thing. I'm like, you've already lost me. I didn't even read it. I'm like, it's not even worth it.
I don't know if he's like a big fan of that or what, because I don't follow this dumb
How could you not? I mean, come on. Like, that's insane.
I don't follow this dumb motherfucker. The only thing I do follow is the fact that his name is Lil Uzi Vert.
Okay.
Now, his name is Lil Uzi Vert, and he claims that his father is Satan. Say Lil Uzi Vert really fast.
Yeah, Lucifer.
Yeah. So, either way,
okay.
I don't care. A $24 million pink diamond put in his forehead. Bro, I'm going to punch you in your dumbass face and rip it right out of your skull and walk off. We all wear masks, dude. I'm going to fucking pop you and rob you of your shit. Let's also think about this
being on the internet, too. You don't need to
I don't care.
It's my podcast. I care.
Come find me. I don't have the $24 million diamond because if I would, I wouldn't be in the state that I'm in. Fuck Ohio. I'll be in Maui with my new friend.
This is the second rapper you've called out. You guys, you got a problem with rappers? You want to punch them?
I kind of started hating rappers, dude.
Well, I'll tell you what's in the here's the deal. If you want to call out rappers, that's completely cool. However, I think we need to look at the bigger atrocity that is plaguing this nation right now.
God?
No, God's not a plague. He's a deity. The plague I am talking about is improper mouth movements in video games. To me, that's more important. You're going to spend $70 on a video game. You're going to give, or if I'm going to spend $70, $60 on a video game, I'm going to get real life. See, this is where I equate that shit. I'm more concerned about this is literally like the equivalent of me hearing about how some person got a forked tongue because they thought they was going to do something cool. I'm like, no, cool. Do you? I'm like, I'm not going to read the article. I could give two shits. That is not, it has gotten, it's just, this is where I am just more in the aspect of that. I want to have the community of people that are going to edify in a good way. I don't like getting pissed off because some guy put a $24 million thing in his forehead. I am. That's why I don't like doing it.
No,
it's dumb.
Fuck that guy.
It's dumb.
He should be punched in his face repeatedly until he decides that's dumb. I guess I shouldn't do that.
I guess this brings up the whole idea of the moralistic idea of money. I guess this is just what money does to you.
You want to buy a fucking house? Buy a house. You want to put a stupid ass fucking diamond in the middle of your fucking forehead? I'm all for body modifications and I'm all for cool things. I'm all for flashing and flexing around a little bit. I have a grill. I have diamonds I put in my teeth. When's the last time you watched me wear it?
Oh, actually, I completely
Chandler's birthday.
I completely forgot you even had them.
Oh, I wore it the other day, but Chandler's birthday was last.
I didn't notice.
What I'm saying is that I can put diamonds in my face too. Doesn't mean that I should.
No.
or that I should do it every day.
Scientists,
go invest your money on other things. Anyways,
scientists, what Jeff Goldblum said is that your scientists were so obsessed in the fact that they didn't stop and think about the fact that they should.
Exactly. All right, guys.
So no. It's like I got to finish my thought prior.
Oh.
I was in the middle of something, and you wanted to talk about the diamond guy. I got to remember what the fuck I was saying.
We were talking about Vision got brought into it for a reason.
If we're gonna be down here in this man cave talking about shit, I'm back on it.
There we go.
This is what the Cave Cast is going to be. It's going to be every conversation that I have had in my man cave. It's going to be.
That's what this is.
People are like, there was somebody that at one point they were like, your podcast is supposed to be a paranormal podcast, and that's when I responded with, no, the podcast is what I say that it is. This is the one thing I can control in my life. I'm going to make it exactly what I want it to be. And it's going to be
sad.
I know, man. Hey, this is why do you think we do it? We don't do it because we want views. We just want a little control. That's all we want. It's like what would Christopher Titus said about Bernie Sanders being in the basement of the White House if he were to ever actually make it to be the president. He'd be playing with his trains.
Yeah.
Toot. It's like, excuse me, Mr. Sanders, you have a call on the red phone. I am playing with my trains. Thank you very much. You get me all weekend in the United Nations. I can have my 1%. Thank you very much. So no, but
1 hour.
That's right. I get my 1% every week. So no, but no, dude. It's just that I want these conversations to be exactly what would happen down here. I want it to be
what it is, man.
And that's as people that are in it, we know that. As our viewers, that's something that's going to be very, very different. This is a very different episode than what we've done before. And I'm happy that we did it. I'm happy that this was, we peeled back some layers that we haven't talked about before, either publicly or at all. And
we're gonna elaborate on another one. I feel.
Yeah. So. I think that whenever it happens, but we've been talking about,
we're going to give it a while. We'll give it a while. I would label this part 1.
Yeah. Yeah.
Part 1.
Keep them hungry for more.
Keep them hungry for more. Yeah.
So, but all right, well, guys.
Yeah.
We appreciate if you have made it this far into the video. It's actually we're almost at 2 hours right now on the board recording. I'm not sure exactly what it's going to be in the context of the editing, but as I said before, I want this video, I want this podcast, I want this particular chapter, if you will, to be the realism of what you have to understand, that as grown-ass males, this is the stuff that we think about. This is the stuff that we wrestle with. This is the stuff that we are in turmoil over. This is the stuff that we just agonize over. This is the stuff that we're thankful for. This is the stuff that we've been there. We've done that. We've understood it. We have lived it. We've preached it. We have spoken it. We have led people to Christ. We have done this. And it is possible for you to have this crisis of faith and still maybe find your way back. It's possible. Anything is.
We're all still figuring it out, man.
This is our spiritual journey is not done. Do not take this part 1 as the nail in the coffin about the certainty of where we will go with our faith. This is something completely different could happen next year, and I could be growing in a completely different way. There is nothing about the context of this part 1 that says that the rest of our lives have to look a certain way. We have been through it. We're still going through it.
We will always go through it.
We're all going through it, man. And if you're someone that has dealt with this, that has been on fire for God, as my old youth pastor would put it, Chad, who's just one of the most amazing people on this planet. I love him so much. Even if you were on fire for God, you can go out. It can happen.
Yep.
Understand that this world does not give a shit about you. It will throw everything at you that you can to extinguish you, and it will happen, but it does not change the fact. And I feel like I'm getting super in depth and like artsy because I love rock music and everything and Breaking Benjamin, whatever. But it's like you have embers that can catch fire again. It's not impossible for you to be able to have, not have that. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't have questions. We talked about it in the very beginning, guys. 2 Corinthians 5:13. Paul commands you to do this. He commands you to have these hard conversations. You guys tonight witnessed a conversation between me and my brother. That is what has happened tonight. This is not a display for clout. This is not anything that's been done for that. You have witnessed a real, authentic, raw, emotional moment. So I appreciate everybody sticking this out with us, going through the tough shit, going through everything that we've talked about, the funny stuff, the good stuff, the bad stuff, all of it. We appreciate it all. And the next episode will 100% be a lot more lighter in content. So with that being said, thank you all for joining us in the time that you have. If you enjoyed this, please go ahead and hit the like. If you didn't, hit the dislike. And let your criticism be constructive. Toxicity is not going to be tolerated, but I want this to be a true open conversation that can happen. And we appreciate you all. Adios, guys.